All right, hi. It's nice to be talking to you guys again. Okay, today is another time for an interesting topic, a topic that I felt at some point had been overflowed, but I find that some things bear repetition, either because people forget, people feel they're not entitled to these things, people have been numbed down by culture, personalities and all. But being a counselor, interfacing with many couples, individuals, being married myself for almost 9 years now, glory to God, I find that some things are expedient and they might not be your preferred, you might not be comfortable with them initially, your spouse or your partner might not be comfortable with them initially, but there are reasons these things should be done or adhered to. All right, so we're going to go right into it in a few seconds. As usual, I'd like to remind you to follow me on all social media platforms. I'm easy to find, especially on Instagram at Toju Oluwatoyinbo Global. Every other detail you need will be on the screen. You need to read my book. You need to book a counseling session with me. Let me help you simplify your relationship. It's not that difficult. Let me help you simplify your relationship matters and help you make better relationship decisions. This is why I'm in your life. This is why I'm doing this video. This is why I'm in your space. And this is why I want to speak with you. All right, so today we're talking about third parties. Third parties in marriages, third parties in your relationships, right? Are third parties necessary? Why do I need a third party? What occasion would arise that would warrant me getting in touch with a third party, right? Is it okay for me to want a third party and then my wife or my husband or my fiancé doesn't want a third party involvement? What do I do, right? I find that especially in this part of the world, and I say this with all sense of responsibility because I'm part of the church, right? I'm part of ministry, but a lot of churches might not have helped, maybe with the knowledge that they had in the past, right? I believe firmly that if people know better, they will do better. So I don't want to blame it too much on them. I guess it was what they knew that they shared with us at the time. But I know that over time at many wedding ceremonies, when they're joining them, you would hear the pastor or the clergyman say things like, "There's no third party in this relationship. As they have married today, let them go into their house. Don't call them, don't visit them, don't interfere in their matter. If they have any issue, let them solve it by themselves. It is them and they are God," and all of that. And at that time, it really sounded like words of wisdom. And to an extent, it is relevant, but things must always be put in context and perspective. Because what happened at those ceremonies, of course, especially because they are people of faith, they've left thinking, with my spouse, my best friend, with God, I can do all things, right? With God, I can do all things. But you need, like I said, in context, there are certain things you might not be able to do by yourselves. But through God, He can send you other people to help you sort out the issue. And so those people get into roadblocks and then they can't sort things out by themselves. But because pastor has said we should solve the matter by ourselves, we shouldn't call our parents, we shouldn't call our mentors, we shouldn't wash our dirty linen in public, they're going around in circles, getting frustrated, getting emotionally abused. Some have deteriorated into physical abuse just because they need to keep it in the house. Let's breathe. Let's breathe. Nobody is going to hell for involving a third party. I mean, like we always say, even in ministry as well, you already have a third party who is God, right? So maybe we should be talking about fourth parties. But let's stick to third parties. So the question now becomes, when do I need to involve a third party? Or let's start with, why do I need a third party? A couple of reasons. Again, like I like to say, these videos are not exhaustive. They're to give you some guidelines, some templates, and then we can talk further offline or online in other ways, right? So why do I need a third party? Different reasons. Number one, it could be just the sheer fact that you and your husband or you and your wife are still getting to know each other. And at some point, it can be rough, or I don't want to use the word tedious. There can be what we call gbasgbos in Nigeria. right? There can be friction, misunderstandings. You're still learning to know yourselves. I learned from my husband a while ago that when they say the two of you have become one flesh, it's not automatic. You are becoming one. Because you have taken your vows that day, you have exchanged rings, you have said yes before people, and people have eaten your party rice. Doesn't mean that everything is going to be magical. You are still becoming, you're in the process of becoming one. And that becoming can be a lot. It can feel hard. It can feel confusing. It can feel frustrating. So at times like that, it's okay to get a third party, right? Another situation would be if you're going round in circles about a matter. The matter has come up day one. You've tried to talk about it, apologize about it, pray about it, cry about it, and you feel you're good, you're okay. And then you realize 2 months after, the issue is coming up again. And you felt, I thought we had dealt with this, but there's still something that you need to unearth. There's still something that you need to unpack. There's still something that is not so clear. And then there's another argument, or for some people, a full-blown fight. When you begin to start going around in circles, you need to involve a third party. Another reason, and I think I might stop on this one, is if one party in the relationship or the marriage begins to feel distressed, if their soul is stressed, right? So one party might feel, oh, I'm good, this is what we should do. It's obvious. Do this. Or my way or the highway, or this is what, even if you're going to meet a pastor or a mentor or somebody, this is what they're going to tell you. So there's really no need to talk about this. But the other party feels, I just want someone else to hear me. I feel someone else will understand my perspective. Maybe you feel, oh, my husband is male. He doesn't get how a female feels about this. Or the husband might feel, she's a woman. She doesn't understand how men feel or how men think. And you say, the funny thing about this kind of situations is that the woman might not necessarily be wrong. The man might not necessarily be wrong. Both of them might be right, but they're different perspectives, different angles, different needs. So they need a third party to help them align those needs, desires, perspectives so that they can live harmoniously, right? So if one person's soul is distressed, even if the other person feels fine, the other person is entitled to speak to a third party. Now, how do you go about choosing a third party or when to talk to that third party? These are some basic guidelines I like to give. Before you get married especially, but even now that some of you might be married, you need to decide who is someone or a couple or someone we can talk to if we hit a roadblock, if we're going around in circles, if someone feels distressed, all these other things I've mentioned. Agree. We're going to talk to Pastor XYZ. We're going to talk to therapist ABC. We're going to talk to mentor, UVW, right? Decide. And let it be somebody both of you are comfortable with. It shouldn't be somebody that just the man likes or knows, or somebody that just the wife likes or knows, because you want to avoid a bias, right? So someone that both of you agree to meet. Some people prefer to have a neutral person so that the person can be objective. I prefer that you find somebody who knows and loves you, but is also mature enough to be objective. Because a neutral person might really not care for you. Yeah, you might just be bottom line. You might just be another number in their client statistics. They might not follow up. They might not really care. So they just give you letters, 7 steps to this, 5 keys to that. But someone who knows you, loves you, is after your best interests, can be there for you, can really hold your hand and, in a sense, hold your heart and your soul. You can feel the care and the empathy, because you don't just want text, right? You want the feelings as well. Someone that can pray for you, but also be mature enough not to judge you. Also neutral and mature enough not to hold anything against the spouse who may have been wrong. You know how it is. The person might be inclined to you and like you, and then they tell you something bad that their spouse has done, and after the problem has been rectified, they still use bad eye. How do you say bad eye in English? They still look at your spouse funny or in a bad way, or have a bad perspective, a tainted perspective about your spouse. So for me, I would go with someone who is mature enough to be neutral, but also who has your best interest at heart. So you choose who you want to go for. And then another thing I think I want to highlight is, if your spouse feels, I really need to talk to someone, but you don't feel so, I feel it's okay to give your spouse the permission to talk to that person with or without your permission. So if the spouse just feels, I just want to talk to this person, and they don't tell you in that moment, I feel it's best to discuss, oh, I want to go and talk to this person. But if for whatever reason, after you have hit many roadblocks, they feel, I just need to let it out to someone else, they should be allowed to, right? However, like I said, it's best that you discuss with your spouse, oh, I'm going to talk to this person, and then let them go ahead to do that, right? So I hope that these guidelines have helped you kind of navigate why it's important to have a third party, when a third party should come in, who the third party should be, and how to go about it. So these are things to prayerfully and intellectually, mentally consider, because you want to ensure that the health of your marriage is at, pro-max level. And there are definitely things at different times that you might not be able to handle yourself. You also want to check the time, and it's not that when there's fire in the mountain, 1 minute you're running to a third party. No, you must try to solve things by yourself. But I've also come to find that a lot of people want to solve things by themselves, but they don't have the structure, the facility, the wisdom to handle the issues. Matthew 19 Message Translation says there's a certain kind of grace and aptitude that you need for marriage. There's a certain kind, and that is why people like me are in your life. So if you want to find out how to build that structure to handle conflicts between you and your spouse without necessarily going to a third party ever so often, I'm your girl. So see you in my DMs, see you in my emails. Take care. Until the next video, bye.